Hi everyone, welcome back to Bible in a Year. My name is Natalie and today we're on day 181. Welcome to the channel. I am so happy that you're here today. We're going to be reading out of Joshua chapter 8. We're going to finish the book of Isaiah by reading Isaiah chapter 66 and then 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And then we're going to close out the day with Psalm chapter 102 verses 23 through 28. So why don't we go ahead and get started with Joshua chapter 8. If you hear a little bit of baby crying, I don't know if you can hear that. It's just my neighbor outside. So he'll settle down. He's so cute. Oh my gosh, this baby. Okay, babies are cute. I love babies. This one literally has the face of an angel. He's so cute. But he's a little upset right now. So anyways, I digress. Joshua chapter 8. Here we go. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Don't be afraid and don't be dismayed. Take all the warriors with you and arise, go up to Ai. Behold, I have given into your hand the king of Ai with his people, his city, and his land. You shall do to Ai and her king as you did to Jericho and her king, except you shall take its goods and its livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush for the city behind it." So Joshua arose with all the warriors to go up to Ai. Joshua chose 30,000 men, the mighty men of valor, and sent them out by night. He commanded them, saying, "Behold, you shall lie in ambush against the city, behind the city. Don't go very far from the city, but all of you be ready. I and all the people who are with me will approach the city. It shall happen when they come out against us, as at the first, that we will flee before them. They will come out after us until we have drawn them away from the city, for they will say, 'They flee before us like the first time.' So we will flee before them, and you shall rise up from the ambush and take possession of the city, for Yahweh your God will deliver it into your hand. It shall be, when you have seized the city, that you shall set the city on fire. You shall do this according to Yahweh's word. Behold, I have commanded you." Joshua sent them out, and they went to set up to the ambush and stayed between Bethel and Ai on the west side of Ai. But Joshua stayed among the people that night. Joshua rose up early in the morning, mustered the people, and went up, he and the elders of Israel, before the people of Ai. All the people, even the men of war who were with him, went up and came near, and came before the city and encamped on the north side of Ai. Now there was a valley between him and Ai. He took about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. So they set the people, even all the army who was on the north of the city. Excuse me. Let me start that over. Verse 13. So they set the people, even all the army who was on the north of the city, and their ambush on the west of the city. And Joshua went that night into the middle of the valley. When the king of Ai saw it, they hurried and rose up early, and the men of the city went out against Israel to battle, he and all his people, at the time appointed, before the Arabah. But he didn't know that there was an ambush against him behind the city. Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them, and fled by the way of the wilderness. All the people who were in the city were called together to pursue them. They pursued Joshua and were drawn away from the city. There was not a man left in Ai or Bethel who didn't go out after Israel. They left the city open and pursued Israel. Yahweh said to Joshua, "Stretch out the javelin that is now in your hand toward Ai, for I will give it into your hand." Joshua stretched out the javelin that was in his hand toward the city. The ambush arose quickly out of their place, and they ran as soon as they had stretched out his hand and entered into the city and took it. They hurried and set the city on fire. When the men of Ai looked behind them, they saw, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended up into the heaven, and they had no power to flee this way or that way. The people who fled to the wilderness turned back on the pursuers. When Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city and that the smoke of the city ascended, then they turned back and killed the men of Ai. The others came out of the city against them, so they were in the middle of Israel, some on this side and some on that side. They struck them, so that they let none of them remain or escape. They captured the king of Ai alive and brought him to Joshua. When Israel had finished killing all the inhabitants of Ai in the field, in the wilderness in which they pursued them, and they had fallen by the edge of the sword until they were consumed, all Israel returned to Ai and struck it with the edge of the sword. All fell that day, both men and women, were 12,000, even all the people of Ai. For Joshua didn't draw back his hand, with which he stretched out the javelin, until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Israel took for themselves only the livestock and the goods of that city, according to Yahweh's word, which he commanded Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and made it a heap forever, even a desolation to this day. He hanged the king of Ai on a tree until the evening. At sundown, Joshua commanded, and they took his body down from the tree and threw it at the entrance of the gate of the city, and raised a great heap of stones on it that remains to this day. Then Joshua built an altar to Yahweh, the God of Israel, on Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of Yahweh, commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stones, on which no one had lifted up any iron. They offered burnt offerings on it to Yahweh, and sacrificed peace offerings. He wrote there on these stones a copy of Moses' law, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. All Israel, with their elders, officers, and judges, stood on both sides of the ark before the Levitical priests who carried the ark of Yahweh's covenant, the foreigner as well as the native, half of them in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of Yahweh, had commanded at the first, that they should bless the people of Israel. Afterward, he read all the words of the law, the blessing and the curse, according to all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses commanded which Joshua didn't read before all the assembly of Israel, with the women, the little ones, and the foreigners who were among them. This is my most favorite battle, the Battle of Ai. I love it. Why do I love it? All right, let's finish the book of Isaiah. That came up fast. I wasn't expecting that today, but we're moving into Isaiah chapter 66. And let's finish it up. Here we go. Yahweh says, "Heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. What kind of house will you build to me? Where will I rest? For my hand has made all these things, and so all these things came to be, says Yahweh. But I will look to this man, even to he who is poor and of contrite spirit, and who trembles at my word. He who kills an ox is as he who kills a man. He who sacrifices a lamb as he who breaks a dog's neck. He who offers an offering as he who offers pig's blood. He who burns frankincense as he who blesses an idol. Yes, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. I also will choose their delusions, and will bring their fears on them, because when I called, no one answered. When I spoke, they didn't listen. But they did that which was evil in my eyes, and chose that in which I didn't delight. Hear Yahweh's word, you who tremble at his word. Your brothers who hate you, who cast you out for my name's sake, have said, let Yahweh be glorified, that we may see your joy. But it is those who shall be disappointed. A voice of tumult from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of Yahweh that repays his enemies what they deserve. Before she travailed, she gave birth. Before her pain came, she delivered a son. Who has heard of such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall a land be born in one day? Shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she gave birth to her children. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to be delivered? Says Yahweh. Shall I who caused to give birth shut the womb? Says your God. Rejoice with Jerusalem and be glad for her, all you who love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all you who mourn over her, that you may nurse and be satisfied at the comforting breast, that you may drink deeply and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For Yahweh says, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the nations like an overflowing stream, and you will nurse. You will be carried on her side, and will be dandled on her knees. As one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you. You will be comforted in Jerusalem. You will see it, and your heart shall rejoice, and your bones will flourish like the tender grass. Yahweh's hand will be known among his servants, and he will have indignation against his enemies. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and his chariots will be like the whirlwind, to render his anger with fierceness and his rebuke with flames of fire. For Yahweh will execute judgment by fire and by the sword on all flesh, and those slain by Yahweh will be many. Those who sanctify themselves and purify themselves to go to the gardens, following one in the middle, eating pig's meat, abominable things, and the mouse, they shall come to an end together, says Yahweh. For I know their works and their thoughts. The time comes that I will gather all nations and languages, and they will come, and they will see my glory. I will set a sign among them, and I will send those who escape of them to the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, and Lud, who draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to faraway islands, who have not heard my fame, nor have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the nations. They shall bring all your brothers out of all nations for an offering to Yahweh on horses, in chariots, in litters, on mules, and on camels to my holy mountain Jerusalem, says Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring their offering in a clean vessel into Yahweh's house. Of them I will also select priests and Levites, says Yahweh. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, says Yahweh, so your offspring and your name shall remain. It shall happen that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, all flesh will come and worship before me, says Yahweh. They will go out and look at the dead bodies of the men who have transgressed against me, for their worm will not die, nor will their fire be quenched, and they will be loathsome to all mankind. So I ask you, when we read in verse 15, for behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and his chariots will be like the whirlwind, to render his anger with fierceness, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For Yahweh will execute judgment by fire and by his sword on all flesh, and those slain by Yahweh will be many. When we read that, do we need to be concerned? Those of us who have a relationship with Jesus, who believe in his new covenant, is this what we need to be afraid of? I truly don't think so. I think that this visual of God just having enough, he's had enough, and he's coming down. It is for those who do not believe in the love of Jesus. He's coming for those who do not believe in his loving kindness and how he wants relationship with us. He's coming for those who deny him. So for those of us who might have grown up in the church, hearing these words and being afraid to even take a breath for fear that we may have sinned, that is not for us. Okay? If you are on a journey searching, curious about Jesus, curious about God, what is this religion, Christianity? I'd like to start off by saying it is a personal relationship. So keep tuning in and listening to the words that we read, and have a personal relationship with God. You don't need to do what the others do. You can have your own personal relationship and do what you do. All right, so that finished up Isaiah. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Excuse me, I am sorry. Here we go. I never know what day is going to be an issue with allergies. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Let's see what Paul says. For we know that if the earthly house of our tent is dissolved, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For most certainly in this we groan, longing to be clothed with our habitation, which is from the heavens, if indeed being clothed, we will not be found naked. For indeed we are in this tent, do we groan, being burdened, not that we desire to be unclothed, but that we desire to be clothed, that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. Now he who made us for this very thing is God, who also gave to us the down payment of the Spirit. Therefore, we are always confident and know that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord, for we walk by faith, not by sight. We are courageous, I say, and are willing rather to be absent from the body and to be at home with the Lord. Therefore, also we make it our aim, whether at home or absent, to be well-pleasing to him. For we must all be revealed before the judgment seat of Christ, that each one may receive the things in the body according to what he has done, whether good or bad. Knowing therefore the fear of the Lord, we persuade men, but we are revealed to God, and I hope that we are revealed also in your conscience. For we are not commending ourselves to you again, but speak as giving you occasion of boasting on our behalf, that you may have something to answer those who boast in appearance, and not in heart. For if we are beside ourselves, it is for God. Or if we are sober mind, it is for you. For the love of Christ compels us, because we judge thus, that one died for all, therefore all died. He died for all, that those who live should no longer live to themselves, but to him, who for the sakes died and rose again. Therefore we know no one according to the flesh from now on. Even though we have known Christ according to the flesh, yet now we know him so no more. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. But all things are of God, who reconciled us to himself through Jesus Christ, and gave to us the ministry of reconciliation, namely, that God was in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, not reckoning to them their own trespasses, and having committed to us the word of reconciliation. We are therefore ambassadors on behalf of Christ, as though God were entreating by us. We beg you, on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For him who knew no sin, he made to be sin on our behalf, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Wow. Wow, I have my thoughts, but I'm going to leave it right there. Those words are perfect. All right, Psalm 102, 23 through 28. He weakened my strength along the course, and he shortened my days. I said, my God, don't take me away in the middle of my days. Your years are throughout all generations. Of old you laid the foundation of the earth. The heavens are the work of your hands. They will perish, but you will endure. Yes, all of them will wear out like a garment. You will change them like a cloak, and they will be changed. But you are the same. Your years will have no end. The children of your servants will continue, and their offspring will be established before you. Well, everybody, thank you for joining me today. I gotta admit, I loved every single one of those books. Today was a good day. Do you want to know what we're going to be starting tomorrow? We finished up Isaiah. We are going to be starting the book of Jeremiah tomorrow. So come on back for that. That's going to be day 182, which happens to be the marker for half the year. So enjoy your last half of the year today, because tomorrow we move on to the second half of the year. Thank you again for coming by. I hope you have the most wonderful day today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.